We are back with more My Southern Home, and I'm here with Jeff Ratanapool with Stockton Mortgage. And Jeff, as we approach the end of the year, what changes do you see the market taking?
You know, what a ride we've been on since before the pandemic till now. We've seen 100-year low interest rates. We've seen an unbelievable seller's market. We've seen a high demand for purchases and refinances and just mortgage volume in general. And I learned a saying a while back, and that was, this gravy train has biscuit wheels, which basically what I mean by that is, and it's not doom and gloom, it's just, you know, the curve for mortgages and for home buying doesn't go straight up. You know, it's cyclical, it goes up and down. So we are expecting a little bit of a pullback probably as we get into 2022 and later as far as buying and just loan origination in general. I think we're going to go back to what we call a normal market. And so it's going to be a good year. It's going to be steady. I think they're going to have a lot of buyers, but I don't believe we're going to see the exact thing we've seen for the last 18 months, and that is, you know, I don't think we're going to see houses gone in a day. We're just going to see regular flow, and that'll feel more normal.
Well, one of the things that I like about the market changing is that it'll be better for the buyer.
Yeah, it could be very well. And I will say this, even though we've got some changes, I think we're still going to see great interest rates. You know, the Fed and the Treasury and all those tools that they put in place to get us through the pandemic, they're not just going to pull those out. So people wanting to buy will still get really good below 4% interest rates. And I think for that buyer, it's still a great time to buy. Maybe the prices will be a little more realistic. They'll have a few more choices. They'll be able to go to things like actually get an appraisal and a home inspection on a home. Because you know, last year was basically one of the weirdest years in history where buyers were buying without an appraisal, without a home inspection, and basically taking the house as is, which I'm not really sure how safe that is, but ultimately anyone wanting to buy, that's what they had to do. But as we get into 2022 and beyond, I think you're going to see things settle back down.
Well, people that aren't in the real estate industry, they don't really know what buyer's market, seller's market is. And I have been working in the industry since 2011, pretty much exclusively. And neither one of them are bad things. So the public out there that are interested in purchasing a home should not be scared by the market changing.
I agree with that. And so the way I always remember it is a seller's market means it's about negotiation. Who has the negotiating advantage? If it's a seller's market, then the seller does. So typically that means that home prices will be pushed up because sellers can hold out for their top dollar. When we shift to a buyer's market, I feel like values are stable or maybe declining a little because that buyer has the negotiating ability to get that deal they're looking for. And so maybe the seller's here, the buyer comes in here, they meet here in a buyer's market. If you're in a seller's market, the seller's here, the buyer comes here, the seller goes there. And that ultimately, to me, that's the difference.
Well, I always say that knowledge is power, and I think that you need to do research on the market that you're buying in. And that's when these words like buyer's market, seller's market makes a difference. And working with a professional like yourself is going to help them with that negotiating power so that they can get the home that they want.
I'm in complete agreement with you. It's always about the information because information is power. And you've said it multiple times on your show. The more information you have, the more well-informed decision you can make. So whether you're a buyer or a seller, knowing your market is the key to having success.
Well, and the earlier the better with that as well, because sometimes people are afraid to pull that credit score if they haven't pulled it in a while. And if you're planning on purchasing a home 6 months from now or 12 months from now, going ahead and having that information, you can fix those things.
Absolutely. So it's better to know than not know. And it's better to know with time to fix it than it is to find out at the last minute when you're in the middle of a contract and there's a lot riding on it, because that leads to disappointment for both sides.
So Jeff, do you see changes in lending coming?
You know, not really, not like we've seen in times past when there was a drop in the market or a fallout. And so, interesting statistic, a year ago about this time, there were 8.5 million people who took forbearance. Now that number is down to 1.75. And out of that 1.75 that's still in forbearance, about only 10% are asking for a modification, which means that the remainder are basically paying the past due payments right then and there. So we feel like there's going to be not a big crash, but just a soft landing. And so because of that, there isn't going to be any need for, lending to do anything special like they did in the first meltdown of '08 or any other times that we bottomed out. So I really think it's going to be business as usual for lenders and borrowers. There's going to be access to a lot of cheap money, and so it's still going to be a great time to buy. Now, that being said, there's a rumor that the Biden administration is looking at a first-time homebuyer tax credit. So the last time there was a tax credit, President Obama had one in for $8,000 for first-time homebuyers to capture after they closed and filed their tax return. The word on the street that this is going to be somewhere between $0 and $15,000 and possibly captured at the table. And if that goes through, then you're going to have a line of buyers for quite a long time. And so I think it'll be a great time for us all to be in the industry, buying, selling, refinancing, the whole 9 yards.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed coming on the show. Thank you for having me.
We'll be back with more My Southern Home in just a moment.